Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to day one of Project Bighani. All right, you're in for a ride. I want to introduce myself naman to you guys. I'm Danny Mortel. I'm a TV and events host, a TV commercial model, and a transformation coach. But today, hindi tayo mag-workout. Don't worry. I will be your host for today. And again, this is day one of the Project Bighani online workshop. All right, I hope you guys are excited for what's to come today. I am for sure excited. And before we begin, I just like to greet everyone a happy Independence Day. I hope that we remember what today is about for us as a nation and for us as Filipinos. And because this is Project Bighani, to learn more about what it is about by starting off with our opening remarks from AG Constantino, Marketing Manager of Power Max Center. Let us hear more about Project Bighani, how it was created, and as I said, what it is about. AG?
Hi everyone! Welcome to Project Bighani by Power Max Center. So we started this activity because we know that there are people like you, Apple enthusiasts who care for the environment. So thank you for choosing to be with us today. We also created this initiative because we wanted to see the beauty of our local destinations, even when we're on lockdown. So we figured, why not encourage everyone to showcase their hometown, di ba? And we're sure that wherever it may be, meron pa ring bighani yung lugar na at home ka. And there's no better way of capturing the beauty of your hometown than using an iPhone. Yeah. So product, ano muna tayo? Yes, it's the most loved camera in the world, which you have a chance to win if you enter the Hometown Glory Contest. So more on that later. But for now, I'm excited to learn with you from our guest today. Not only will you learn, you can also have a chance to win exciting raffle prizes. So thank you and welcome to the first day of Project Bighani online workshops.
All right. Thank you, AG. And as you said, I'm super excited to learn today. And yun nga, tama yung sinabi mo. As long as we have eyes, as long as we have a heart to see what it is actually there to see, what is there, out there to see, and where we are exactly right now, meron at meron talagang Bighani. All right. So this is, again, Project Bighani online workshop. But to give you an idea, meron pala tayong three major components of Project Bighani. The first component is Hometown Glory, an online vertical storytelling contest that showcases the beauty of one's hometown. So you guys can still send in your entries until June 15, 2021. And you might just be very, very lucky and win an iPhone 12 Pro Max or MacBook Air M1. Type in the chat box kung ngayon nyo lang na nalaman na meron palang Hometown Glory and a storytelling contest. I want to join because I will really want to type there. I want to join. All right, the next component. Ayun, may nag-type. Si Renz, I want to join. You still have until June 15 to send in your entries. All right, the next component is Pass It On. Now, this one is a support drive that aims to protect, preserve, and restore beautiful communities in the country. And this initiative is in partnership with Masungi Georeserve, Save Philippine Seas, and Strays Worth Saving. Now, with every purchase of any participating product, a percentage of sales actually goes to a mission in support of their advocacies. Kaya naman together, let's give nature a helping hand and of course, protect its beauty, diba? Let's all keep an eye also at Power Max Center's social media platforms because I heard interesting news about how you can still join and be part of this amazing initiative that's very, very, very dear to my heart. And of course, the last component is the online workshop. Now, this is a two-part series happening today, June 12th, and tomorrow, June 13th, with our Project Bighani ambassadors, Andi Eigenmann and Kyle Jennerman, in participation of our partner organizations, Masungi Georeserve, Save Philippine Seas, and Strays Worth Saving. All right, at this point, I want to read muna rin kung where you are right now. Kasi you guys are from Cebu, from Davao, everywhere around the Philippines. wherever you are, there is wonder, there is Bighani. And this is what it really is about. And we want to encourage you all to use whatever you have right now, aka our phones, di ba? Lagi tayong meron phone na dala. Use whatever you have to tell the story of what you see and what it is that makes your hometown very, very special. And Project Bighani, as I said earlier, is made possible by our partner organizations as well. And our partner organization that we have today and we will be hearing from and we will be learning from is Masungi Georeserve. Now, if you don't know, guys, Masungi Georeserve Foundation is actually dedicated to the restoration of some 3,000 hectares of limestone formations and hundreds of biodiversity in the mountains of Baras, Rizal, Philippines against many threats. Diba? Ang dami na nangyari this year, last year, and every year, marami talaga nangyayari. Madaming napagdadaanan ng ating bansa. And of course, our natural resources talaga are affected. And in 2017, actually, it was tasked through the Masungi Geopark project to assist in the reforestation of heavily denuded watershed areas, which are heavily threatened by large-scale mining, land speculation, and timber poaching. Their work follows the triple strategy of conservation, education, and sustainable development. Now, here with us today is Billy Dumalyang, and she is a Filipino conservationist from Masungi Georeserve. She was recognized in Vanity Fair's Changing Your Mind Awards 2020 for protecting, preserving, and showcasing the nature reserve. Let us all welcome Billy Dumalyang to discuss on the conservation action in sanctuaries during the pandemic. Billy?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Danny and Sir AG, for inviting me today. I'm so excited to share more about our story here in Masungi, and I'm not sure how many of the people in the audience have visited us, but we are located about 47 kilometers east of Metro Manila. So, dadaan ka lang ng Katipunan Avenue, Marcos Highway, and on kilometer 47, we are there. And today I'll be sharing about what we've been doing during the pandemic and probably how you can help as content creators in our mission to preserve this very special place. So sa akin naman, I'm Billy. I'm a trustee at the foundation, but I believe that my life has been entangled with Masungi ever since because even when I was younger, I was already going to this place with my family who was involved in the conservation of Masungi since the 1990s. So it's a very special place to me personally and also now professionally. So the picture in your left is the sapot, and it's been featured time and time again on social media, and it's one of the most iconic things about Masungi. It's one of the features that are low impact, that help guests and visitors interact with the landscape without destroying the landscape. So very thoughtful, very mindful kind of tourism that we have. But many of you might not know that the heart of Masungi is actually conservation. And tourism is just one of the means that we are able to sustain our conservation efforts. What exactly are we conserving? Information fauna that can only be found in Masungi or in the Philippines. So this is a before and after photo of what Masungi, the limestone karst formation, looked like in 1996. So it has been totally bald, devoid of life, and the communities surrounding this place tell us that they were hearing all throughout the day just the sound of chainsaws in this place. So after 20 years of protection, because thankfully it became part of a project with the private sector, we were able to protect the boundaries of the place and let it re-heal by itself. So see what can be done if we're actually able to limit and make only responsible human interactions with places of high biodiversity. In 20 years, this is what Masungi looks like. It has a restored secondary forest. Hindi pa ganun kalalaki yung mga puno. Probably like this pa lang, when they should have been like super big already. But yeah, the wildlife has been coming back, and now instead of hearing chainsaws, you hear the sound of birds, and more than 70 species of birds at that. So it's been a very successful restoration success story, and it went through a lot of challenges even at that time. Now, in 2017, we were tasked to help the government restore other degraded lands surrounding the georeserve. And this is our reforestation site. As you can see, walang puno in the reforestation site. So it's actually a new challenge, and one that was, conceptualized by Secretary Gina Lopez, who was an activist environment minister who got booted out after a few months in office. But she was able to leave this legacy, and she entrusted to us the restoration of this place. And it is in this place where we see and experience, new but all too familiar challenges that we've already faced 20 years ago. Okay, so what model are we using in Masungi? We use protection, education, and sustainable development. So education and research go together because it's what informs our protection and sustainable development efforts. So we really work with scientists and experts in doing all of these things that we do at Masungi. And that is to be able to inform science-based protection efforts where we really put boots on the ground. We have about 100 rangers at our peak who really patrol and take care and monitor the forest 24/7. So they have one of the riskiest jobs in the entire Philippines, because we are number one or number two, the most dangerous countries for environmental defenders. So that's one of the big challenges to us. And the third is sustainable development. For Masungi, conservation and development are not mutually exclusive. They can actually go together, and we've proven that. Because of the tourism in Masungi, we're able to do and sustain our protection efforts. We're able to help other enterprises around us flourish and hopefully inspire them to follow a more sustainable path. So I think for this audience, very important yung education part. This is actually one of the most important things about our conservation efforts, that we do not only post and share to our audience the good stuff, we also post reality, which is the bad stuff facing nature conservation in the country. And both have helped us advance our mission. And maybe I can show samples of that later on. So this is a picture of our limestone formations, the Masungi limestone formations. They're a karst ecosystem. So yung mga nasa El Nido dyan and other, nakita ko may mga sa El Nido. So these are younger than the El Nido and Palawan limestones. These are 60 million years old. Palawan's is 200 million. So they emerged after the extinction event of the dinosaurs in the Paleocene age. And so scientifically, it's important because it's the largest exposed limestone in the Philippines of this age. So ganun namin ginagawa yung conservation effort. May science behind it. So we work with researchers to prove why this piece of rock needs to be protected rather than mined and extracted. We're always pushing for, invest in biodiversity, because some countries have used their biodiversity for progress, for economic development. And we feel like we haven't reached that potential yet. And this is one of the most unique species in Masungi, which is JC's vine. And Masungi is only one of the 4 locations where this is found in the world and in the Philippines. And it's color blue and purple, very nice ombre color. Sometimes I want to have my hair dyed like this because it's so unique. And in Masungi, you find the most prolific of these. So this is so unique. Just saying four locations of this, you know that you have to protect something as beautiful as this. And some species, they're not as beautiful to look at, diba? They might be very understated. But for something at the jade vine, we really try to publicize it. So we publicized it through social media, through pitching it to writers, through exposing our scientists to the media to talk about their journey. of discovering this species. So that's one topic I think that also has been underreported. Ang daming species na discover in the Philippines every day. And this is the Masungi snail. We work with scientists to establish that this subspecies can only be found in Masungi. Diba? So if you destroy Masungi, you annihilate an entire species of snail. That's how important Masungi is. So this one is as small as a grain of rice, and it can only be found in Masungi. So again, very high biodiversity. Yeah, and you know, a lot of people ask us, what have you been doing during this pandemic? Yeah, it is a very open area. So in some ways, we are kind of very much insulated from infections, but it has been tough because we had to help our communities, our park rangers around the area to be able to cope with it also. So at first, maraming confusing protocols, but we helped together with the youth. We produced 600 Filipino translated information, basic information materials about COVID. How do you get it? Saan ba nakukuha? Paano mo malalaman kung meron ka? So yung ganun ka-basic na we tried to fill in the gaps during the pandemic. That's of course aside from the food drives and medical consultations that we facilitated for our partner communities. There are a lot of threats also, as I mentioned. We post these always because we know that more people should know about them if we are to overcome them. So quarrying 1,500 hectares of that 3,000 hectares we're supposed to reforest has mining agreements. So we're only trying to stop the quarrying from happening through our mere presence and the campaigns that we do on social media. Or else they'll just quarry the whole thing. So sira lahat yan. And that will affect Masungi's limestones, that will affect all the biodiversity that I showed to you earlier. They will be extinguished because you are going to deface the land and the soil on which they live. There's also a lot of land grabbing, so meaning to say entities, businesses na unscrupulous, and they just come and try to occupy the land. And you know, that's me in green trying to face one day this armed security guards and this fraternity talking about their connections in the police. So that's like everyday experience for us, no? Just the impunity and harassments that we face because of our protection efforts. And there's also a lot, you know, this is protected area. And in 2016 to 2021, there have been three swimming pools that have been built in it without any authority or permits or titles. Diba? So sobrang, you know, we have all these protected areas in Cebu, in Davao, and everywhere else. We have to make sure that the laws are implemented and that we actually take care of them, because these protected areas should not have any of these developments, right? That can affect negatively the functions of the place. And of course, timber poaching, burning every year. And yeah, we do a lot of online campaigns to be able to respond to these, as well as offline campaigns. We did a biodiversity backyard blitz where Baras schools raced to identify the most number of species in a weekend. And it was a resounding success. I think we had over 10,000 species observations. And this was during the pandemic. So even though we were close, we found ways to help educate young people in our community and bring them closer to our biodiversity. Of course, we have international partners who give us drones, wildlife cameras, and support for our park rangers. So that has been very helpful as well. We've also been working with our communities, partner communities, and the indigenous people who have been vulnerable to all sorts of exploitation of their innocence by different entities that are interested in the area. And for all these, we have built a coalition to be able to fight as many groups and individuals for the watershed that we all belong to. Imagine there has been already Ondoy and Ulysses, and we have not, it seems we have not learned from those experiences. So cultural tourism and livelihood projects with indigenous people in our partner communities is important because this is one of the projects that we'll be able to fund through Project Bighani. So this is one of our projects with Power Mac Center. And what we hope to do is to create NTFPs, which is non-timber forest-based products, which are basically products from the forest, but whose processing and manufacturing and production does not harm the environment. So these are typically forest-based honey, medicinal products, food products, but we have to make them higher value. We have to package them well, and that's where we are helping our partners with. So very exciting because there's a lot of innovation that can be done by using our native medicinal products like the sambong, like the guava leaves. Ang dami pang pwedeng gawin. Skincare pa lang, ang dami nating pwedeng makuha from those medicinal plants. So these are some of my personal learnings about all of these things that we're going through. The problem with environment conservation is deeply complex, but please do not underestimate what you can do as an individual. And not necessarily as a conservationist, but you as an individual, as a content creator, right? How can you contribute to this mission? And that, as a mix of personal action and political action, they're needed. So sometimes sabihin mo, yung ginagawa ko ba merong impact? I will say yes, but also that what we do alone isn't enough. We do need to engage government institutions to be able to save our sanctuaries here in the Philippines. And we also need to find champions and allies. And this has been very important for conservation storytelling. We collaborate a lot with storytellers. To be honest, in the past 3 days, I've been collaborating with media personalities, shooting with media organizations because they take interest to help us out. So I think we will never run out of the need for media, for journalists to cover these issues. I think you see how big they are. So wala naman kaming money, di ba? Wala din kaming political connection. So all we have is that trust and that empowerment given by the public and well-meaning individuals and like-minded organizations. So please do not hesitate to reach out to anybody from the conservation field in terms of what you can contribute. So these are just some simple things that we've lined up for you today. How can you help organizations like us? So one is amplify. For Masungi, we do post beautiful wildlife, a lot of which go viral because for some reason people haven't seen them, but they're actually already just there. We just highlight them. Kasi nandun na yan, nakita nyo na yan nung bata kayo. But iba if you take the photo the right way, the right lighting, the right information, iba yung impact So something that has been there before is brought into a different light when done creatively. Diba? So please continue to do that. Share and post and engage with environmental organizations and our sanctuaries. Create the environment. As I said, we work, for example, Masungi, we work a lot with National Geographic Society and that whole group to bring forward the stories of conservation. And now we're working actually with AI folks. We're doing NFTs. If any of you are familiar, non-fungible tokens on crypto, creating art based on biodiversity and selling them on a cryptocurrency on the blockchain. So we're super interested in all of those innovative things. And of course, the amplifying fake news. Sa environment sector, madami din ganito, lalo na marami kaming, for example, nakakaharap na maraming interest, conflicting interests in the area. So they retaliate against environment defenders. So we also need help the amplifying fake news. We also have a lot of campaigns. So what makes amplifying different from campaigning? For me, campaigning has an element of commitment and action. So when you're done being an advocate or raising awareness, please think about campaigning and committing something more, whether it's your time or your signature or a letter. So for example, here, we made the letter to the president. Sabi namin, please keep the watershed quarry-free cancel all those agreements now and make it your legacy before you leave office. So we had 80 organizations sign this one, and it's been forwarded to the Office of the President. So yeah, petitions, they're always helpful, but you can also write your own letter, right? As a content creator, as a member of an organization. Write a letter to your congressman, to your governor, mayor, senator, president, diba? Whoever you have access to, use your network to bring these issues to light. Fundraise or donate is always also important because we have an 80% gap in biodiversity conservation. Ibig sabihin, 80% nung mga kailangan natin para masuportahan yung ating biodiversity, walang pondo. So saan kukunin yun, di ba? Kukunin lang yon from private sector, from citizens, and other non-government sources. And yeah, co-create campaigns, environmental orgs, yung mga pinakita ko kanina, those are campaigns with Kids for Kids. Because as Masungi are also limited in resources, it means a lot that these kids who are from Gen Z, they're also artists and campaigners, that they have spent their time, to get to know the project and build something of their own perspective and understanding of the issue. Kasi ayoko din na sinabi ko lang sa inyo and then yun na yung gagawin nyo. What we did with Kids for Kids, they really went to the site. We really brought them in. And we were really transparent with all of these challenges. So they were able to create a campaign na based off their understanding and appreciation of this project. And of course, encourage. So we talk about hometowns and we talk about travel. And, one way to do that is to check yung mga resorts ba na pinupuntahan natin, are they aligned with environmental policies? Are they located in protected areas? Do they have actually the right authority to be there? Or are they one of these violators pala, di ba? Lalo na yung mga dun sa gitna ng kagubatan. Medyo sensitive. Of course, there are legitimate ones, but you do have to check. And, when you go to an area, it's important to ask about biodiversity. I think yung sa local culture, a lot of Filipinos are already very interested in it. But yung biodiversity, medyo kulang pa, di ba? So, kunyari, when you go to an area, tanungin nyo, ano ba yung bird na dito ko lang makikita sa Davao? Ano ba yung bird na dito ko lang makikita sa Cordillera? And try to find it, listen to its call, di ba? Ask about it. Because that's also something that's unique in the country and that you can create thousands of stories from. That's endless, diba? Endless stories from our biodiversity. Leave no trace and do not cause pollution, even yung noise, that's pollution for people who live there and for the wildlife who live there. And keep in touch with destinations. So we really like it when yung past guests namin, visitors, they check up on us, they return. That really contributes a lot to building our inspiration, because we also find inspiration from our guests and the people who reach out to us whenever we're in need. So yon, that concludes my sharing for today. You can connect with us.
All right. Thank you, Billy. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us. Actually, personally, my experience with Masungi Georeserve also, nadadaanan lang namin yan lagi because my dad works in Rizal. So he would take me up there and then madadaanan ko, Masungi Georeserve. And I'm like, wait, what is that? What is that? And then I would ask my friends and then I would search it on social media and then I found out that it's about that. And personally, if I hadn't done my part in, really being curious about what it is about, I wouldn't have learned about it. Parang initially iniisip ko, tourist destination lang na may parang net, ganyan. But there's more to that. It's not just that. It's not just going there and experiencing, that. It's actually purposeful, and it's more for us for the long run. So, okay, if you, at this point, we want to entertain some questions. You guys can use the chat box. You guys can use the chat box below for any questions that you might have for Billy. All right. May mga nagte-thank you kay Billy for sharing that, for a very insightful talk Ma'am Billy. Ayan, just want to ask from Earl, how to ensure a successful habitat restoration, particularly for fragmented habitats? And how should we address the early introduction of exotic tree species? Example, mahogany, gimelina, and other remaining forest frontiers in the country. So, Billy, we have a question from Earl. Is Billy?
Thank you for the very nice question. How to ensure stable habitat restoration. So, yeah, habitat restoration program. So, the UN Decade for Ecosystem Restoration just launched, and that talks about how important it is to restore degraded lands. And from our experience, what's important is number one, protection, number two, education, and number three, reforestation using the right species, right, and the right trees. So protection kasi, this is where our reforestation programs in the country have failed before. Kasi plant lang sila, paramihan lang ng plant, bala na kung anong species, bala na kung iwan natin, hindi natin babalikan. So that has been a problem. So first is protection, because you cannot reforest or restore a place if the basic enforcement isn't there. Meaning, if you can't even implement the laws, how can you make sure that the trees you'll plant will actually grow into a forest? You're wasting your time and money if you can't ensure protection. That's why for Masungi, some people might find it weird that we're so focused on these violations, but it's because we know we can't do a successful restoration program without protection. And then, of course, yung education and yung livelihood component would come after that. When you establish that these will be enforced, you have to have education and livelihood para hindi sila bumalik dun sa dating practices, yung mga harmful practices like illegal logging, etc. And so that you have people, fighting for conservation, not just you as an individual or group. And how should we address the early introduction of exotic species? So now, dapat, di ba, puro native trees ang tatanim natin. I'm not an expert in terms of what to do with it, but from my understanding, they're already there. Even if they're not native trees, they also help, of course, doon sa ating climate change, sa absorption ng carbon, absorption ng heat. Yung mahogany, not so much of biodiversity kasi pinapatay niya yung iba. Okay, so that's one thinking about it na, there's still trees, they can still harbor a specific type of climate and ecosystem. But on the other hand, these are productive trees, meaning they have other uses. So depending on the circumstances, they could be used for productive things, creating industry. But how do you make sure that is sustainable and that it doesn't promote more of these wrong practices in planting and restoration?
All right, thank you so much. I hope, Earl, that Billy answered your question. All right, thank you for asking that question again. We have another one from Alec. So Alex says, how did you discover the very small snail? Kasi sabi mo kanina, di ba, parang ano lang siya, grain of rice. Sabi niya, is someone assigned to observe everything in the area, or was it just by chance? Okay.
So we work with snail experts. Talagang may snail experts dito sa Pilipinas. They're a group. And they, they go every now and then to the Georeserve to assess all the different types of species. So talagang they spend the day to go through a specific trail, and they find yung iba-ibang biodiversity na nandun. So in this instance, they were looking specifically for snails, and they found one that they knew looked like the one from Baguio, pero may kakaiba about it. So they actually spent 3 years to distinguish it from the one in Baguio. Because you have to distinguish it physically, but you also have to distinguish it sa DNA analysis. And you have to get the info from a population, diba? Not just from a single specimen. So very exciting the way that they were able to discover it.
Wow. Okay, Alec, if you're interested in these things, maybe you want to volunteer, you want to visit Masungi and then, just experience it yourself also. And 'di ba sabi nga ni Billy kanina, it's about amplifying, campaigning and encouraging. So maybe if this sparks your interest, maybe you can use that and tell a story about it, 'di ba? Because I'm sure na you got interested because of something, because of your own personal interests as well. Ayan. We also, okay, at this point, we will entertain two more questions. Okay? Sabi ni Corazon Junior de Jesus, how were the tour guides trained? I was able to visit in early 2019, and I applaud our guide for combining both scientific and entertaining info. Wow. Okay, Billy. Billy?
Yeah, so this is very important part yung sa park rangers natin.
Mm-mm.
They go through rigorous training. They go first to kung fit lang, because it's not for everybody. As much as we want to bring everybody, some people hindi nila kaya yung physicality of the work, or just how much also scientific knowledge it takes. So it really takes a lot, and there's a specific training module that has been developed to develop yung ability of the park rangers. Again, it's not easy, definitely not easy, and I'm glad that you appreciate that,
Appreciate it.
because syempre yung community natin, many of them have not finished formal training in school, right? So to be able to manage both yung storytelling. By the way, it is storytelling, the way that we frame the whole spiel and the whole experience. Laging kwento from the park rangers. Na-refine na yung training modules for the rangers throughout the years.
All right. Now, okay, last question, because I believe that we are all interested and we really want to do something, because you said nga that it's really doing our part din naman. But for people who are nearby, or like that can go to the site mismo, to Masungi mismo, Angela is asking if there are volunteer programs or other education drives like Bantay Bukid for forest guards or avenues for donation. I think this is more like what can we do right now if we want to go there and if we can be volunteers talaga.
Right. So, volunteer program natin is more on a case-to-case basis, no? So, it contribute. Wala tayong set na volunteer program. So, it's more of people emailing us, no? So, email us trail or communications at masungigeoreserve.com. Talk about what do you think can you contribute, what do you want to contribute to Masungi, and then we try to match it from there. We also maintain that that need comes up, then we know who we can call. We have a scholarship program, and we have helped companies and individuals, implement education initiatives. So I think we have more than 20 scholars na, and that will be added. A company wants to do a scholarship program with us, so we'll have 30 in a few months. So yeah, definitely we're open to all types. So it's just a matter of emailing us, contacting us, and matching it with the needs of the organization.
Right. Okay, so you just visit their social media platforms as well, and then from there you can send them an email, as Billy said, and work something out with Masungi Georeserve as well. Okay, last one. I'm also very interested in this because right now, of course, we're still in the pandemic, but some people are, going out for a staycation, for example, or a relaxing vacation with their families, socially distanced vacations. You mentioned a while ago that we have to check also, it's our responsibility also to check kung protected areas ba yung tinatayuan ng ating mga resorts na pinupuntahan. So there is a question, how can we report resorts who are in the protected areas? And is there any way to check online if resorts or businesses are legal or illegal?
Yeah. So if how do you know if these resorts are in protected areas and how to report them? Okay, so you will know if they're in protected areas through the maps that are available. So nakamap, actually I think the map on Facebook is quite helpful. There are also apps like the Environmental app na makikita mo sa GPS kung it's part of forest land or protected areas. And what they have to have is they have to have some agreement with, otherwise wala talaga. I don't know how many resorts actually are able to comply with that. Syempre, may political issues din dyan, but it's of the protected area. Okay, and how to report? First, dapat wala silang business permit from the LGU. Second, you can report to the DNR who can issue a show cause order and a cease and desist order. And three, you can report to the DOT, diba? Because they also handle accreditation, but I assume most of these don't even have DOT accreditation. So reporting is one thing, but there's a lot of inertia also in implementing. Yun nga yung sinasabi ko. So it matters different kinds of pressure.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think it just gave me a different perspective, and all of us a different perspective, and a new perspective at that. Na everything we do, we have to keep an open mind and like really be there in the moment and really think of, okay, in what way am I affecting the environment? In what way am I infecting the world that I'm living in right now? Like using plastics, for example. Because like, okay, for those people who can go out, there is a certain way that we can help in changing little things about our lifestyle, kunwari, magti-take out tayo. Instead of getting the plastic bag, diba? That, of course, we know plastics really, really pollute our natural resources, diba? Instead of using the plastic bags, bring your own bag. Yung little things go a long, long way talaga. And now, learning about these things, learning about biodiversity, about what we can do to help, about how to reach out and how to really check kung meron nga bang mga illegal, illegal logging, illegal land grabbing that are really taking a toll on our environment and our lands. We really have to show up. Really have to show up and be together and stand hand in hand and really make sure that everything is in place in terms of our world. And that, I think, is the most important thing when it comes to, opening our eyes to the wonders of what actually is presented to us and what we are literally blessed with, because it's our responsibility naman then, of course, to preserve that and conserve that. All right. Thank you, Billy, so much. At this point, I'm sure you guys are already inspired, and now that we've learned a lot about what we can do, aside from amplifying, campaigning, and encouraging, what we can do as individuals, as Filipinos, right here, right now. It is now time naman to learn how to use the information to tell a story that will inspire others. Because it's one thing, we start with educating ourselves, learning more about the topic at hand, and then it's another to move and to take action, all right? Now, this part of our workshop naman is we can learn how to take action by creating content. Because all of us right now, we are content creators, okay? We have social media, we have our phones with us all the time. By merely sending a message to our friends or family, that is actually already content creating. Because why? You're telling a story. And at this point, I want to introduce to you guys our Project Bighani ambassador. She is an award-winning actress who is also a showbiz royalty. She left the limelight to find peace and calmness in a place where she can be truly herself. Diba? Personally, I've been following her for a long, long time, and literally, I'm looking at my vision board right now, and it says Siargao. And this lady has showed us that it's possible to really flourish and thrive where you are. And she found that tranquility in Siargao. where she now calls her home together with fiancé Philmar Alipayo and 3 kids, Ellie, Milo, and Koa. Together with her family, they share their simple and I would say very raw and real island lives through their YouTube channel called The Happy Islanders with more than 2 million subscribers, her Facebook page with 6 million followers, and Instagram with 3.2 million followers. Let us all welcome Andi Eigenmann as she talks about the key elements of storytelling. Hey, Andi!
Hi. Hey, Danny. Hey, everyone.
How are you
I'm
today?
I'm great. I'm so stoked to be here with all of you right now. I also had a wonderful time learning more through the talk that Billy just gave. So thank you for having me be a part of this project and this workshop for
Alright.
today.
Alam nyo guys, I want to share really quickly lang kasi kanina we had a run through. And then Andi came in and she was holding Koa and Ellie was also there behind her and she said, "Look, this is really my life right now." And we were so inspired because really even when she's here with us, she's showing what she shows on her social media platforms, and that's really amazing. And sobrang cute talaga yung mga anak mo, Andy. Okay, so Andy, let us begin this talk by maybe we can talk about how or why you started creating your own content, because as I mentioned a while ago, diba, you kind of stepped away from show business and really made your own path, I would say. So why and how did you start this?
Well, first of all, like coming from showbiz and deciding that, I wanted to, take time off and figure out what was best for me and Ellie. It was not like I did not expect that I would end up doing something that's also, that also involves being sort of being in front of the cameras and talking to people. But this time, it's a different feeling for me because I've found a purpose and more of a reason why I want to do this. So I understand more. I understand more what I want to share to people and what I want them to get out of me. For the longest time, I was just trying to share, snippets of my new life, my life behind the cameras. I turned my Instagram into some sort of diary up until I've met Philmar, my fiance, and now we have a family. But the main purpose at the beginning was to just get the word out there on sustainable living, which was which was the basically what I had switched my lifestyle into. And I knew that it deserved more of a platform and needed to be spread more because especially here in the Philippines, a lot of people are not intentionally, I believe, destroying our environment. It's just that they're not that educated on it. And I wanted to be an advocate for that. So through time, I learned more and more how to be effective and how to be able to, sorry, I don't see myself as an expert at all. I don't know if everything that I'm doing is right, but what I'm here today to share is how I at least am able to do that or to share stories in order to get my message across effectively.
Right. That's right. I love that. It's kind of, learning from your life experiences also, where you are and what you can do with what you're experiencing. And parang like what you said, you didn't really expect to, be a content creator or like have a YouTube channel, I guess, diba? You just wanted to really share it, diba? It's simple as that. But where do you think you get the inspiration for your content? I think I know the answer, but just to let people know, because, we have different inspirations naman, but where do you get the inspiration for your content?
Well, it all began in my home. Obviously on Siargao Island, and it was this island that introduced me to the beauty of of our planet in general. um, Being closer to the ocean, learning how to surf, and developing a passion for that also gave me also introduced a whole new passion for helping out in preserving our oceans, making sure that I would do my part to protect our marine life and our environment around us, until this became my life and my world. So my family's in it now. It's basically working hand in hand. And so I can it has helped me, my family, my personal life, and people being interested in that has helped me be able to find ways to get their attention and allow and make sure that they will be interested in me sharing what it's about to live the life that I live, which is sustainable living, living simply. I mean, I'm no expert, and that's also one thing that I want to get people to understand, is that you don't have to be 100% capable of making the switch
Yeah.
to a slower lifestyle in order to do it, and taking it one step at a time, and trying your best, learning to do new things to help out little by little should be good enough. And so, yeah, for
That's
me,
great.
with simple living, like from coming from living a life of a celebrity and switching to a simpler life here on the island, more slow paced, I already have less carbon footprint than Andy
Right.
Eigenmann of 2015. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that I want people to continue being engaged in my stories about my life, so that they will realize that this kind of life is enough to bring magic and turn your life into an extraordinarily happy one.
That's amazing. Yes, because we grew up. As kids, we were taught, okay, go to school, get a degree, work a 9 to 5, stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, I know a lot of my friends are have that life. But what if we weren't taught that? You know what I mean? Like, what if there was another way? Like, as kids, we were open. Like, your kids are open to the world that is out there, and what if they're allowed to learn as they go, as they grow up, being exposed to the world out there, diba? So it's just amazing how you know that you can be an advocate for that kind of life, and that you can live your life as it is, and very, very happily as well. Now I want to get on content creation, because if you look at Andy Eigenmann's social media platforms, you will see how raw and how just real she is through her posts. I want everyone here to know, if you have tips for us in terms of content creation and storytelling, we'd love to hear that from you.
Okay, a while ago I was panicking in when we were practicing. So now I've gathered my thoughts together, and I have my 5 tips already. So number one is, of course, being authentic, being yourself. Um, I believe that it was when I started speaking from the heart and sharing my most heartfelt and realest, honest stories about myself and my life. Sorry, my life, that I started. Sorry, again. I realized that when I started becoming sharing more heartfelt and more real stories about my life, that was when more people were engaged, and I would hear and read messages about people wanting more from me. And coming from being an actress and people already thinking they know you, it was a breath of fresh air to unintentionally sort of be given this second chance to actually let them get to know me. And so because I enjoyed doing that, um, I guess it worked. It's been working. That's why it's been working well for me. And second, of course, is to know your audience, because it's not just about you being able to tell your stories or talking about yourself. Because I know what my audience want to hear, what they want to, what they like that I talk about, or what keeps them interested. I make sure that I do my best in sharing more of that. And if there's something that, or like a message that I want to get across, I try to be creative and make it a mix of both.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, sharing something about my kids, and so somehow I would say that as a parent, I'm also their teacher, and it comes naturally that um, I would try my best to instill these lessons to them. And sometimes these can be shared also to my audience, because it's something that they would be interested to hear.
Yes.
My next one is more technical. It seems like when I talk on my Instagram that I don't proofread my 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 captions, but in all honesty, I really do. I love to write, and I've always wanted to be a storyteller, from even from the time that I was still an aspiring filmmaker. And um, I want to make sure that even if my captions tend to get long, it's only because there's a lot of information that I want to share. But I try my best to keep it short and sweet, and make sure that as much as possible, when I'm sharing something of myself or whatever that I want them to take a look at, that they would be engaged, that they won't just ignore. Maybe they just look at the picture and not look at the caption, or vice versa. So I'm not an expert at both, which is why I try to mesh both together and allow the picture and the caption to work hand in hand. Another one is reflecting. I'm I started doing this for myself. I started doing this to help the environment, just because, I started doing this for my panicking in the inside. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
I started doing this for myself just because I wanted to. And I started it as well to try to help, as my own way of helping Mother Earth, Mother Nature. But because I really do appreciate the way people, my audience, is accepting everything that I'm sharing, I want to be sure that I would not let them down somehow. So I want to reflect on my life, on the main theme of what my content, basically main theme of what I share to the world, and make sure that I would always share things that would always inspire them, or just I would learn, and I would be open to learning and growing more as a person, so that when I share some thoughts to people, I know that it's something that they can also pick up a thing or two from. I'd like, as a storyteller, I want to be able to get people to be engaged so that I can entertain them. But I also want to make it a point that I will educate them, and however I could. My last is, of course, my purpose. So I'll go back to why I started this, which was because I wanted to do my part, no matter how small, to be able to help the environment and use my voice somehow to do that. And that's it. Even if it doesn't seem like it, because my Instagram is very family centered, it's always the main idea. It's always the main theme. I also learned that I can't just shove it in their screens. So I can't be like all out about it, but I make sure that my purpose is there, and I always try my best. Sometimes maybe it fails, but I always try my best to get that across in my post. So no matter what, even whether this is our vlog, whether this is my Instagram, even my fiance's Instagram, because we started the vlog because of that same purpose that we share, there'd always be something that's connected to our environment and learning about how beautiful it is, and maybe getting more people to help out and take care of it.
Yes. I saw that post nga where you were just enjoying with your fiance, and that was Lilo, I think. Yeah, you were with Lilo. And then Philmar started making a toy out of ano yun? Anong leaf yun ba? Is that like a coconut?
Yes, coconut leaves.
Yeah, 'di ba? So imagine, I think you were just waiting for your food or something. While you were waiting, bigla siyang gumawa ng toy out of coconut leaves for your child. And grabe, simple joys, 'di ba talaga? And para ano siya, parang windmill. Windmill.
Yeah, or like a
Yeah.
propeller.
Ayun, propeller. See? I don't even have that. But walang wind dito sa condo. But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how you said nga that it's not like outright, no, okay, this blog is about conserving the environment, but it is deeply engraved in the heart of your blog by simply showing, okay, this is what you're doing, this is what you're doing next. Diba? Parang you're just telling a story, okay, this is how our day is going. But at the same time, there's purpose and there's the advocacy in there, which I think is very, very important. So just to run through everything that Andy said, it's being authentic, knowing your audience, and being creative as to how you're going to tell your story to your audience. Driving the picture and the caption to tell a story, of course, because in technicalities, of course, you have to proofread, diba, everything that you write so that people won't say, ay, but around grammar, whatever. But of course, there is talaga a way to tell stories na effective for the receivers to receive the message properly. Of course, next is reflecting, putting the message across, and inspiring other people to do the same things that you're doing, and of course, purpose. Yeah. So thank you for those 5 tips, guys. Oh, I just want to mention to everyone, if you have any questions for Andy, please type them in the chat box below. All right. Our next question naman, Andy, for you is, what advice can you give to people who want to start creating their content? Because like for me, I am a host, I am a this, I'm a that, multifaceted. Ang dami na tao ngayon na, we can do a lot of things, nowadays, because we're not limited by our resources. We're given everything that we need right now. But to be a content creator nowadays, parang naririnig natin kasi na, okay, you have to have your niche. You know what I mean? You have to have the niche, or like you have to be unique, stuff like that. So sometimes you're like, wag na nga lang kasi di ko alam kung anong bang gagawin ko. So what is your advice to people like that?
When I was actually starting out, not that I thought or expected that, I would be grateful enough, fortunate enough to be doing this for a living. When I wanted to get, try my hand at it, I often heard people say that, oh, you have to be unique, and like what you said, you have to find, your brand, who you are. And I misinterpreted that as just, trying to find something that, other people has not done. And now I realize that it's ironic because coming like years later, and I can say that I have, I'm super happy to have my little audience always constantly awaiting what I will share. That what worked for me is that I just made sure to stay true to myself, which is why I spoke so much about authenticity when I was giving my my tips. And at the same time, it's about, I feel like finding your niche or talking about that aspect just is about, knowing what you stand for, knowing who you are and what you stand for, and being like true to what you believe in. Because like somehow I admit that like I might be super happy, happily accepting, getting all of these offers for job offers because of quote unquote the quote unquote success of my content creation. But sometimes I may find myself just forgetting where I came from and why I started this in the first place. Like, for example, even if you pay me a whole bunch of money to promote water, mineral water in the bottles, I will not be able to accept that. And some people might forget that. I'm not going to accept it even if you pay me a lot, because it doesn't match with something that I believe in. And my main purpose is to get rid of that. Is to help. It's to campaign to get rid of that, because it's not good for our planet. You know what I mean? So that's just one example. But also another advice, I guess, is, to always be open to learning and growing. That's one thing that me and my fiance Filmar have realized as we raise our children and, give our time and immerse with our kids, is that, even if you feel like you're already there and someone is here, it doesn't mean that there's no more room for growth. And always being open to that gives you more of a chance to widen your horizons and have even more to share. So yeah, that that too. Yeah. That's
I
it.
love that. I love that. It's being, accepting the fact that yes, you can grow as a content creator, but you have to stay humble and really keep your feet on the ground, because you have to remember why you're doing it in the first place. Yeah, 'di ba? Parang okay, you have to really know your why. I think that's my main takeaway from this. Aside from being authentic and really being you have to know why. You have to know why, who you are, and why you're going to do this, why you're going to plunge into a life that you've always been dreaming of living. You know what I mean? And Andy, kanina nga sabi ko, kung pwede ko lang kunin yung vision board ko, you will see Siargao written in all caps and some waves over here. Later papakita ko sa'yo pagkatapos ng event. But yeah, grabe. As in, I've been really envisioning it. And following people like you who are there already takes me to a place where I know that there is hope to live a life that I can live and I want to live eventually. Diba? So thank you so much for living the way you live and inspiring other people to live that as well. But now, ito na, sinasabi ko sa'yo, Siargao written on my vision board. I really want to know, and I'm sure everybody wants to know, how is island life? And why did you ever consider Siargao to be your hometown? Because that for me is so amazing.
I said it a while ago in our breakout room, and I'm so happy to be able to say it again, that would say that I'm already living my dream, because I'm here in Siargao because it's a place that I've always, wanted to go to.
Yeah.
And I always saw myself having this, or living this kind of life as a long-term goal. And if anything, I feel like I agreed on becoming an actress when I was younger, because when we would do goal setting and just like, talk about personal aspirations in school, my long-term goal was always to have a house and live by the beach. And I realize now that it didn't that to be able to have this life, it's not, about gathering all of the money you can get, and or working getting burnt out with work, that you forget who you are and what you want anymore. It's just about, taking the leap. Taking the leap and listening to your heart. I was so scared when I first made this step. I did not know where my life would take me, and I had a dependent. So it made it even harder, because I felt like having Ellie, I have no room for failure. I cannot this move cannot be wrong.
Right.
And so being able to say that this is my home now brings me so much joy, to be able to actually say that I'm finally living my dream. And that is exactly why and that is the very reason why I'm here. But what has kept me here is not just like what I said in my video. I don't know if you guys watched it, but it's not about the clear blue waters. It's not about the lush greenery and the world-class waves, but how well, this island has brought my feet back on the ground, has brought me so much peace and so much joy, and made me realize that life can be worthwhile just by enjoying and taking a look and paying great attention to the simplest things that can make us happy. You know,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. And I thank you. Yun na lang talaga to end it. Thank you. No, pero I really resonate to that also because yun nga, as people who grew up in this system, we really taught this and this and this and structure and da 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 and where where you need to be in order to reach your dreams. It's really knowing that Andy exists, and there are a lot also who live this kind of lifestyle and just super duper inspiring. And it is possible to live a life that you really want for yourself. Thank you so much, Andy. Okay, we have some questions over here from the audience. From Kat. Sabi ni Kat, hello, Miss Andy. Thank you so much for sharing and for being an inspiration to most of us. I'd like to ask lang po, since you started with YouTube then, what are your considerations in what you post, videos or photos? Kasi di ba, now we sometimes consider social media toxic. So for you, how do you maintain your peace even if you are still present online?
Basically, I just consider doing YouTube and posting photos on my Instagram as a part of my job. And just like our work, our normal job, it only happens for a certain number of hours. And so and also as a parent, I've managed to, develop a gift for multitasking. And so I just make sure that I'm able to plan everything well, because my worst fear is that this will end up being about my kids. My worst fear is overexposing my kids to this scene, and I feel that they're so young. As much as I want them to be a part of the videos, they are not the channel, they are not the brand, and that it will run even without them.
Right.
So I'm just looking on the bright side and choosing to be grateful that I'm able to combine my family life and work life, and so I can be as hands-on as I can to my kids. But at the same time, in reality, this is work, and it's work that me and my fiance share, so that we would never find ourselves being too like overloaded with it. And it seems like I'm sharing everything that happens in my life on my vlogs, because most of it are, as of now, are filled with just lifestyle, just day in the life videos, but it's just bits and pieces of our whole life. And I want to make sure that there is still 80%. It's just not obvious, but 80% of what we do in our life as a family is still does not happen in front of the cameras. We just share because we know that that's what the audience wants to see, and we're happy to do that for them. But at the same time, it's also because we want to make sure that we would it's also because we want to be able to allow that to help us get our message across.
Right, right. Kasi there's a fine line between when you're a content creator and yun nga, you share your life with everyone, right? But you want to keep your life's privacy in a way na it's super duper important to you, and you want to make sure that your children are safe as well, diba? Because they have a right to privacy because they're kids, and maintaining that can be tricky, but I think that you're doing an amazing job, and I know that everyone, your followers, your audience, respect that as well. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to also open that topic na as content creators and as viewers, as consumers of the media, diba, we also have a responsibility to, yes, we see their lives online on our screens, but that doesn't mean that we can overstep. You know what I mean? We have a responsibility as viewers, as audience members as well, to keep our distance. Kahit na screen na nga lang, may distance na nga yan eh. Alam niyo na, di ba, may mga trolls and everything. We have to really think before we click as well. So, yun, just wanted to put it out there as well because, that is a responsibility in itself too. Okay, last question. I think we have time for a question. One more. Okay. From Stephanie. From Stephanie. Hello, Andy. Thank you for sharing your insights. I would just want to ask, what advice can you give to a person wanting to start creative writing, blogging, or YouTube videos, but is scared to be judged by people? And what mantra motivates you every day? Thank you, and looking forward to your next vlog. Love that.
Well, for me, of course, go for it if it's something that you would like to do. Just always be, I would say that yes, you have to be mindful of what you're sharing and why you want to share these things, because of the fact that no matter what, you will be judged by people. It's kind of part of it. It's kind of part of it, and you can't prevent it. So I would say that I would say that it's about learning how to look at yourself, how to take a look at who you are, and knowing what you stand for and what you believe in, and accept and realize that we can't please everybody. Not everybody will always agree on the same thing, and there would always be someone who just doesn't like peaches. I think my quote was putol, pero you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's about I gained the confidence in sharing bits and pieces of my life, because I realized that this is who I am and this is what I believe in. And even if there are other people that won't agree, it's okay, as long as you make sure that you're not hurting anyone and that you're not stepping on anyone's feet. You should be okay. It's scary. It's really scary. But when we're there, we learn. And if we are sure of who we are, these things will be so little, and it should be easily ignored. When I was still, in showbiz, I would really, really get hurt by people's words, and I don't even know who they are. And and I would always even say I'm not affected because I don't know who they are. But you know what? In reality, I do get affected. I did used to get affected, and that should be okay, because that's what makes us human.
Right.
But it's learning how to manage it well, learning to accept that that's just how it is. Will be able to allow us to get through, and just keep doing just keep doing your job, just keep sharing what you believe. Just keep sharing whatever it is that you feel is worth sharing, and focus on the people that appreciate that more than the people that don't.
I love that. Because that for me also, it applies also to me, and I know that all of you here, most of us here in the audience also resonate with that, because every day we think that people would judge us based on our appearance, based on what we say, based on what we do, what we don't do, things that we stand up for. Even if we stand up for something, like we have an advocacy, diba, people will still say something, oh, why don't you advocate for this one and that one? So,
Wrong.
diba, parang, okay, wait, I'm human. Diba? So I think that's really important to tell people that as long as you're being real and as long as you're happy with what you're doing a great job. And basta wala kang inaapakang tao. Okay, one last question talaga, promise, Andy. One last daw. Because this is very timely. We are in a pandemic, but Jonah asked, if you had a chance to travel around with your family before the hit of the pandemic, which sustainable resort or destination really impressed you and your family? If there's like a destination that you'd want to go to before the pandemic hit daw, where would it be?
That's actually a difficult question because when the pandemic hit, had just moved here on the island, and in all honesty, my brain is trying to come up with something interesting, but but in all honesty, looking back, um, me and my partner Philmar, my fiance Philmar, I was still back to zero. I was about to, my savings were about to run out, and we did not really have the luxury to think of where we wanted to go. We were just happy to survive and to be together. Although the sad part was that Ellie got stuck in Manila that time. But um, I don't know also if it's selfish, but looking back, our goal was only about our island, and just maybe rather than thinking of places to go, it was more of how to be able to um, learning more ways to be able to apply that to our own plans of
Right.
putting up a sustainable resort, because
Exactly.
at that time, all we had was each other and our dreams.
Oh.
Corny.
No, that's all. It's super sweet. And as your viewers also, as one of your viewers, and ilan tayo dito? 67 in the room who view your content and, consume the media that you put out. It's really inspiring to us how, shinare mo right now that your funds were running out, but you were happy. And that says a lot. I think for me, that says a lot. And you were able to translate that happiness to your content. You were able to tell us literally exactly how you're feeling using your photos. Kahit na sinasabi mo kanina while you're yung nagda-dry run tayo na hindi ka marunong mag-take ng photos masyado.
I'm only using my iPhone. That's why my pictures are nice.
Well, yes. But no, I mean, because you are real, because you're staying true to yourself, you're able to translate how you feel, your experiences to your audience. And I think that's one of the key takeaways that we have from your talk, and how you shared the key elements in storytelling, diba? So thank you so much, Andi, for spending time with us, for sparing some time. I know that you're a full-time mom and it's super busy, but thank you so much. We appreciate you, and thank you to everyone who sent in their questions. Have a safe be safe over there, Andi. And do you have any more a last message to everyone?
Well, thank you also. Thank you all for having me today, for listening to whatever it was that I had to share. I hope that you picked up a thing or two, and from the tips and the advice that I gave, and also saw the way I tried to tell my story today should be a good example of how I do that, and maybe you guys were able to pick something up from my story itself today. I've been trying to read your messages while we were doing the talk, and I also just want to say that I'm seeing them, and so heartwarming to read all the nice things that you guys have to say. I'm so thankful. I was so scared before we began because I thought that you wouldn't learn anything.
No, we learned a lot. Thank you. And yun nga, it's, everything you said just really made sense as to how we saw you online. And hearing you today talaga, just wow, okay, this is really who she is. And it's so amazing that she's really able to be who she really wants and who she is, literally, diba? So thank you once again, Andi, and have an amazing, amazing day ahead of you. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Andi. And at this point, guys, I'm sure that you are very much, excited to take these learnings that we have from today's workshop with you, and use these learnings to your advantage, but most importantly, to the advantage of our environment and us Filipinos as a nation. Again, this is a day of independence, and I'm sure that you are reflecting also on what it means for us as a nation and as Filipinos. So this is the first leg of our Project Bighani online workshop, and Before I say goodbye, I just like to remind everyone that Hometown Glory Online Vertical Storytelling Contest will be ending on June 15th. So you still have until June 15th to send in your entries, and you might be a lucky winner to win an iPhone 12 Pro Max, MacBook Air M1, or both. Oh, pwede pala both. Check out our website, www.powermaxcenter.live for more information. And important announcement. Diba? Very important talaga. For those who registered for part 2 of our workshop, see you tomorrow with Kyle Jennerman, Save Philippine Seas, and Strays Worth Saving. All right, before we say goodbye, I want to thank everyone who flooded the chat box. Thank you so much, everyone. Once again, this has been Danny Mortel, and this has been day 1 of Project Bighani online workshop. Stay safe, stay healthy, and always remember, it's gonna be good. Bye, guys.
Now.